It's not a normal world, it's Taskmaster World. Welcome back to Taskmaster World, the podcast. Woo! I like to say the word podcast because it sounds more woo when it's podcast, really. Right, so I've just noticed for viewers watching this on Spotify and YouTube that you can actually see the original frame of Mike Wozniak using the phrase, it's not a normal world, it's Taskmaster World. Well, it's like perfect. So, we're here back with Taskmaster World, the podcast, and we're here with a very special guest. Today, we'll be talking about Taskmaster NZ, New Zealand, Series 3, Episode 2, with the one he's best known as a contestant on that series. He's possibly the David Kraos of the series, but we'll find out because they're all as bonkers as each other. And he's also best known for appearing on The Masked Singer New Zealand. It's the one and only Paul Ego!
Kia ora.
Oh, so we shall just dive right in.
I'm a big fan of diving, unless this is a very shallow podcast, in which case there's a high degree of risk.
How did you get into comedy? Where did this all begin?
It all began when I was 28. I was actually in the UK. I was living in London with my wife and had never done comedy before. I was a sign writer by trade. So this is back in the days when a lot of signs were kind of still done by hand with brushes and paint, that sort of old school stuff. So that's the trade that I did out of school. So that was my day job. And I used to sing in bands a bit, so I was sort of used to the stage a little bit, I suppose, but had never done comedy. But we'd go and see comedy quite a lot on a Friday night, room above a pub. I remember going to see Sean Mayo and the likes of those guys. There was a guy, is it Woody? I want to say Woody Bob Muddy or something. There was a guy who used to smash records on stage, like bang a nail through them with a hammer. Like he'd play a Sonny and Cher record and then scratch it and then smash it with a nail. And it was hugely entertaining. But yeah, we loved going to see comedy, but I never thought of doing it. And then my sister, who was living with us at the time in the UK, just kept saying, have you ever thought of doing comedy? I think you'd be really good. You're funny at parties, that sort of stuff. And I said to her, no, I disagree. But she just kept, every time we got together, she asked me about it. And I thought, look, I'm just going to have to do a gig just to shut her up, to stop her asking every time she sees me. So I did a gig, kind of like, oh, now I've got to do this comedy gig. So I did an open mic night in Bayswater, I think a pub in Bayswater in London somewhere. Wrote 5 minutes of material, turned up, it wasn't terrible, and I just loved it so much. And I'm like, well, she's a genius, and clearly I'm the asshole. I should have done this years ago. So they were my first gigs, sort of like half a dozen open mic spots in the UK, and then came back to New Zealand in 1995 and been doing it ever since. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Now you said there we'll go off a little bit of tangent for a second, but you said there that you were in bands and you were used to the stage. Did being in a band help you when you came to do The Masked Singer? Did it help you with the skill that you already had a slight knowledge of how to carry the tune to the perfection that you see on the telly?
Well, I think if you've seen the episodes that I'm on, it certainly didn't help me with any of the movements. I remember myself as being a much better mover than that. Mind you, I wasn't wearing a massive praying mantis suit at that time. But yeah, I guess it helped with the nervousness a little bit. I knew what it was like to sing in front of a crowd, but I hadn't done it for, God, I don't know, 25, 30 years maybe. And I'd sort of forgotten how to sing, like how to sing properly. So, I mean, one of the things I enjoyed most about doing The Masked Singer is actually they actually had like a vocal coach who you could go and see, and he could teach you about breathing again and using a diaphragm and all that sort of thing. And I found that really great. I really loved that side of it. It was really cool. So now I can do a little bit more than I thought I could. I still have a limited range. I still go, no, that song is too high for me. I'll definitely stick to anywhere from like Lord to Engelbert Humperdinck. That's my wedge. Anything outside of that is, but anything higher. I'm no Christine Aguilera, that's for sure, and I'm not as deep as the guy from Crash Test Dummies. So I'm sort of I'm somewhere in that pocket.
Yeah, and what's really sad is that from I might be foreshadowing the wrong thing here, but it meant that there was not as many musical tasks on this series, and with you being on the Masked Singer, that would have played into strength of you can kill two birds with one stone. You can promote the Masked Singer without anyone knowing that you're on it, at the same time as showing a little bit of your skill, because that's what
Yeah, yeah.
show skills you didn't know you had.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the thing is, Tom, I really wish now that I had watched more Taskmasters before I did the show, because
Yeah.
I'd never really watched it. I'd seen a couple of YouTube clips of the UK one. I hadn't really watched any of the previous New Zealand series. So now that I've done it, I would, I'd know to maybe ask questions a little bit more, or think, what would be a cooler way of doing it? Whereas my kind of ethos when I was doing the show, and I think Justine Smith was the same, was initial panic at every single task, and just do the very first thing that comes into your head. And like, I like to think I'm quite a quick thinker on stage, so I don't tend to second guess myself. I just do the first thing to say. So I would always do the very first thing rather than going, yeah, that's great. What would be funny? What would be better than that? Whereas the likes of Josh Thompson, who has that kind of erratic panic all the time, where you go, this guy's just a hot mess. He's got no idea what he's doing. Has this incredible mind where he will just stop and kind of go, okay, and then do something just where you just go, well, I never would have thought of that. That's incredible.
We're jump. So with this episode, series 3, episode 2, there's a quote in it, and I'm not going to quote at you the official quote, but you said that your kids are going to watch it. Did you ever show your kids this you on the show?
That particular episode, you mean?
Well, just in general, because you said, "Oh, they're going to watch this," but did you watch the whole thing? Have they seen you in every episode now?
So my youngest son is only a couple of years younger than you. He's 1 year. He's 17. My eldest boy is overseas at the moment. He's 22. He's in Canada, so he'll probably catch up with him when he gets back. He would have seen a lot of the stuff that's been put onto YouTube, so he knows that I lost my mind a couple of times. But yeah, the youngest one watched it with us and really loved it. My mum watched the show. My mum's just turned 88 yesterday, actually, and she's never seen Taskmaster before, and she's just fallen in love with it. To her, she was sort of saying that it kind of reminds her of the British humour of old, where it's just silliness. It's just people falling over. It's just ridiculous, and it really appeals to her. So she loves it. The only one who I wouldn't say didn't enjoy it, but the only one that was a bit, I suppose, was my wife. Particularly the episodes where I'm partially clothed, and let's be honest, I could probably do with losing a bit of weight. There's often glimpses of me under my shirt, or I've got things strapped to me, which aren't particularly attractive. And so, while they're very funny, when we're sitting there on the couch watching it, I'd be laughing, my son would be laughing, and my wife would be quite quiet. And so I don't know if it was disgust, or just like, oh, I can't believe this is how you make a living, or just like, oh man, I'm so embarrassed. But yeah, it was often quite silent when we turned the show off.
And you say that you watch the show and you see the chemistry like form. Did you know any of the panelists before you had done the show? Were you friendly? Were you like aware of them, or had you ever like met them before?
Yeah, I know all of them. New Zealand is a really tight comedy community, and it's a very friendly, supportive community. Justine Smith's one of my best friends. We've gigged together for years, travelled together. Josh Thompson, I've known for equally long. He's a really good mate. And Kura Forrester, I'd met a few times but hadn't worked with before. Yeah. Chris Parker, I'd never worked with before, and we were teamed together, so that was really great that we had a nice kind of frenetic energy. But yeah, I know all of them, and they're all awesome people. There wasn't one person who turned up when I went, oh, this is going to be difficult, or God, I hope they're okay. I mean, I think that comes across that we all like each other. I think that's one of the best things about this season.
Yeah, you can tell for when they do which we'll get onto a little bit later. When you see you and Chris doing the team task, you're a mixture of you're really good friends, or oh no, this is going to go horrendously wrong. Whereas the other team, it's like Josh is like, hang on, what are we gonna do? Like thinking logically, you're just like going straight for it, thinking, what can
Yeah,
possibly go wrong?
yeah. Just completely trust each other. Commit to the first thing that we've said, and just go hammer and tongs, and just absolutely take it as far as we can.
Yeah. And with the previous series, he had said that they had come together and become the five friends, and they had got this little group together. And in the UK, we've heard stories of the contestants going on a holiday together, people in WhatsApp groups. Is there a form of WhatsApp group, or have you created your own group together? Do you?
Yeah,
Is there a way?
yeah, there is. Yeah, we've got a chat group, the five of us, and it was quite nice actually. So the room that we're in now, that I'm doing this from, is the rumpus room at my house downstairs, and I've got a big projector. You can't see it, but there's a big projector screen up on the wall. I spent the money that we should have put aside for our kitchen on a big projector. Maybe that's why my wife's quite quiet when we watch Taskmaster. I don't know, but anyway, so we've got a nice big TV thing on the wall.
Yeah.
So for the final episode, I had Josh and Kura and Josh and Chris all round here to our house, and we all watched it together and opened a bottle of champagne and watched the final show together. So yeah, no, we're very close and we keep in contact. It's so awesome.
Yeah, and now with Taskmaster is well known for filming too much that they don't end up using, and a lot of things that they go,
right,
oh, that could work, but we've decided to go a different angle because there's another one that's like even better. What's your favourite task that never made it to air?
That's a great question, and to be honest, I literally cannot remember. There were so many that, like, even when we watched the ones that did make it to air, there were certainly a couple there, because I'm sure it's the same in the UK. It's like it's a couple of months from when you film all the stuff at the house until you're there, and you're in such a weird headspace when you're filming all that stuff. It's kind of but it is one of those things where you're left alone with your thoughts for a lot of the time. Nobody tells you what's going on. Then it's like, right, come and do that. Right, now go away. Go, don't look out the window. Stay, so you're kind of like, where am I? Is my family still okay? Are they still okay? So you spend like a week of kind of doing that. And then there's the kind of, the sort of come down from that, like, oh my God, that was incredible fun, but it was so exhausting. And then you sort of forget about it for a while. Then you go in the studio 2 months later and really have very little memory of any of the tasks that you've done, let alone the ones that don't make it. Like, often you'll see in the studio records, Paul will say, this one's about whatever, eggs or something. And we're all like, eggs? Did we do one about eggs? That's not acting. We really don't remember. And then often you look at the screen, you go, oh my God, now I remember it. This is horrendous.
And I had there's been a lot of I'm going to use the word speculation, even though it might be the wrong word to use. But was there, and this is as we've learnt, your memories, the greatest thing, which is perfect, because a lot of people's memory aren't great. You're one in a million. Was there any tiebreak tasks filmed? If you know, like ones where points like you don't know who the winner is, so they have to go to tiebreak. Was there any of those?
There was one that they used, I think, which was just firing a champagne cork the furthest. So we all did that, and I think they had to use it for one between, was it Justine and between just two of the contestants for one other game when it was tied. And I think that's the only one that they used. I don't remember any other tiebreak ones that they filmed. I think that was the only one.
Yeah, because there's a fantastic website called, I'll plug it, called Taskmaster.info that is trying to collate whether or not there was any tiebreak task filmed, because that's the greatest mystery, because you might get the information from me because I'm that amazing.
Right.
Yeah,
Good.
Yeah. We'll leave that in because why not? I'm amazing. Yeah, and
it's good. What you got to do when you're doing that, make sure you're in a room that's got really poor acoustics, so that you just hear the echo of you saying it every now and then, and it just sounds like a random person's going, "Amazing! Oh, thanks, man. Thanks, random corner guy." Of course, he'll be saying I'm amazing, which doesn't quite work. What's that? I'm amazing. Oh, thanks.
Yeah. So with the studio, obviously there's only two bits, but one bit there's like more mystery about it. So how long do you get to come up with the prize task? So where do they tell you, oh, we're going to be in the studio in a few weeks, could you bring in this and this and that and whatever? How long does
Yeah,
that, how long does that last?
it's a bit. Yeah, it is a couple of weeks, I think. Yeah, it's not a huge length of time. Um, and yeah, there were some that I thought I did pretty well on. Well, probably two that I thought were actually okay. Actually, out of what 10, it's not a great hit rate, is it? But I thought they're okay. And but there's others where you just go, oh, it's a bit weird. I always assumed that the prize tasks were something that you actually had to physically bring, like it had to be an actual thing that you had, rather than just a picture on a screen. Because to me, I'm kind of like, well, anybody can look up an interesting picture, and then it's just a competition of. But I guess the humour comes in justifying where that came from. That is no, that's actually that is Tom Cruise, and he does actually live with me. So yeah, it's you get a couple of weeks, and then you sort of go through it. There were quite a few there where, like the day before the filming, I think I found out that one of the other contestants had something that was really similar.
Yeah.
And I was literally, in fact, I don't know if I should be saying this, but Josh was helping me as well, because Josh is amazing on computers and stuff like that. And I'm pretty good. I mean, this is working, right? This only took me 4 hours to set this up. With Josh came around and he set it up. No, he didn't. So, like with about 2 hours to go till the show, I had to look for a new prize task, like a brand new one. I think it was best thing to take on a desert island or be stuck on a desert island with. One of those, anyway. So I came up with a couple of good ideas, and he was like, oh, no, okay, well, we can't use that picture. That one's the bloody Reuters photo. We've got to pay for that, right? And he's finding all these back doors to sort of go through and get this free photo and download it. And then I edited it on the... And like right up until like 20 minutes before showtime, I'm editing this picture and then airdrop it to the phone of the production assistant. She airdrops it to there, and then I didn't really care what points I got. I was just so glad that I got it done in time. So yeah, that was a stressful one that night. But yeah, the price they're quite a nice way of kicking off the show, and they're different to anything else, which I think is quite good.
And when you watch international versions of Taskmaster, some versions work really well without them, and then some versions, no, so the original UK version and the New Zealand version work really well with them, because it just like helps you just like slowly come into it, and because it's like the UK version is the original, we want to keep it how it is, and then the NZ version, let's try and speak properly, is it works really well with it, because it's still a relatively new show, and you want to ease and you want to get new viewers in, so having something that makes them laugh to begin with before it's like, oh, what's going on? It gets like to relax them, so you can have like a Doris who's 92, and she can ease into it. It's
yeah, totally. Yeah.
On a So, on that note, we move on to talk about Taskmaster Series 3, Episode 2.
Righto.
We start off with the prize task. And the prize task was to bring in the best thing that delights all five senses. Now we'll go in order, so we'll give you time to process what you did if you because there is a lot.
I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had Chris Parker with a hat plate, which is probably hot plate, not hat plate. I can't remember.
Hot plate, yeah.
Hot. So
yeah, it was like, was it like chicken kebabs or something?
It was like a cabbage and.
Oh, okay, like a Thai sort of dish or Vietnamese dish or something. Yeah.
But it's one of those plates where the waiter doesn't look like they're being in agony whilst he's sizzling as they're walking down.
Oh, gotcha. Yes. Yeah.
I don't know why I said hat place. I mismistaked an O for an A.
A hat plate is also quite good.
Yeah, Josh Thompson brought in a homemade sushi train, which I've
Oh
got.
my god.
He's put on Twitter the karaoke version to the song,
Yeah,
and
it's so great.
that is amazing. I could
Yeah.
say that would have deserved the 5 points, but I think something else might deserve 5 points even more. We had Justine Smith with an R2D2 popcorn holder from Disneyland, which
Yes.
which is sort of going along with her stereotype that she's the Disney fan of the series.
Oh, she is mad. In fact, she's going to be there again next week.
Wow. Wow. I mean, the pop. I don't know. My brother's got it in his room. He's got a Mickey Mouse one, sis.
Right.
And
Great.
the last we went to Disneyland in Paris in like 2006 or something, and it's lasted so long, and it's still in the same condition that it was
That's pretty good.
in 2006.
Yeah.
And then we had Claudia Forrester with a Big Mac with some music that that didn't really work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually you can do that by yourself as you're eating it. I often
Yeah.
like to sort of, hum and sing that myself as I'm eating it. So I'm sort of, yeah.
And I'm surprised they didn't also say other burgers are available because of copyright. I assumed there would have been you would have not had to be biased against McDonald's. Other burger chains are available, and then let's talk about yours. Yours was the most complicated out of them all. So it was
Yeah.
it was a ice cream type box with some chicken, strawberries, velvet, and a picture of Jason Momoa and some
Yeah.
ominous children laughing.
Yeah.
What went
Yeah.
through your head when you came up with that one?
Well, I literally worked through each of the things, and I went, okay. To me, the best taste is butter chicken, so that's what it was. I love butter. I mean, it's amazing. Beautiful sauce. Best smell, fresh strawberries. Nothing quite like it. So I'm like, okay, so we'll just whack the strawberries into the butter chicken. Then you don't have to carry two things. Best thing to look at, obviously, Jason Momoa. He's pretty hot. It's not unpleasant. What else have we done? Smell. I said, feel. The feel. So the velvet around the box was, a velvet. So you'd get this amazing feeling as you're picking up this delicious butter chicken and getting the waft of the strawberries, and then you'd obviously then you hear the sound of the children laughing. And I didn't choose that particular track of the kids laughing, so it did sound a lot more Omen-like than I was wanting. I wanted kind of, a more sort of, like a toddler, like when you tickle a toddler and you go, oh, it's the best sound of all time. That was more like, hey, look, we've just sliced your cat into many pieces and you have to find it. It was more those sorts of kids. So, yeah, it was a bit weird.
When I heard the children laughing, my first thought was, I don't think that would delight anyone because of this.
No.
We now have in the last so many years we've got the trope of some children are very good horror characters.
Yes. Yeah.
Like twins at the end of a corridor in that film that I don't remember the name of, which is really awful.
The Shining. The Shining, right. The Shining.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah.
So the points for that is this is the only time we're going to mention the points because I was a little bit annoyed with the points here. So Chris should have got the 3 points. I agree with that, right? But I reckon you should have got 5 points, and Josh got 4 points because yours was more ridiculous and must have been. It's more comical and it would delight people in a that's really good because it's delightful in a comical way. And I think
Gotcha.
Josh is very good at singing, so that's one. But Sushi doesn't always feel that great. You using chopsticks anyway, so you won't really be touching this.
Yeah, true. I mean, I appreciate you saying I should have got 5 points there, Tom. So, look, Sushi Train was amazing, and the fact that he got his kids singing the song, and his kids are damn cute. As soon as you put your kids in, you're like, okay, well, there's a home run.
Yeah,
He's put his kids in. He's put his kids in.
yeah. And Josh, and what's really interesting is for me is that when it was airing, it was airing at the same time, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, that the film that shan't be named because it's not the most friendliest of titles, which you'll probably understand in a minute, was came out on Sky, which he was in along with
Hmm.
Simon Phillips.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and that was surprising because I didn't realize that he was an incredible stand up himself because I only previously knew him as an actor because I think, and you might be able to back me up on this, I think he was in Wellington Paranormal. I think
Yes.
if that's correct because he was very good in that, and so I was even more surprised that he was very good being him. Well, I don't think he was being himself. I think he was playing a version of himself because no person is that erratic when doing a selection of activities.
Oh, look, he is. Josh is one of a. I mean, I actually think he's the funny. I think he's the funniest man in New Zealand. He's just one of those people with funny bones. You know, just being around him, you know, in any sort of social situation is just the way he tells stories, and he's always like, "Oh, what do we do? Hey, what is that's just what he's like all the time," and it's just hilarious. I don't know how his family take it, but we find it amazing. You know,
Yeah,
we've got the show called 7 Days here in New Zealand, which is a comedy panel show like Mock the Week
yeah,
sort of thing,
yeah,
uh, and we do a live tour version of that at the end of each year. So we do the panel show on stage, and we each do stand up as well. So we cut the show into two halves, and Josh is usually part of that. And seeing him spending the months leading up to the tour trying to come up with his 7 minutes of stand up because we all do 7 minutes each. It's just like, oh man, just seeing the cogs in motion. He's just incredible. But you know, they talk about people being triple threats. I mean, he'd be a 4 or 5 tier 3, I reckon. He is an amazing actor. He's so good at it,
he
and
is.
a great voice artist. And you know, he's just incredible.
And you mentioned there about 7 days being your version of Mock the Week, and I've got to say 7 days is really. I've seen it, and it is very much amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And what's really funny is it'll outlive Mock the Week because that's coming up to its final series this year.
All right.
Yeah, so the BBC have said no more, and so 7 days will outlive Mock the Week, which I haven't got any problem with because they're both equally as amazing as each other.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So we move on to task number one, and this task, out of all this episode, this has got to be the one that was very unexpected, and didn't expect what I witnessed. It's make a dramatic exit, and and
Mm,
we'll get on to yours in a few minutes,
sure.
because we need to build up to it. So we had Chris Parker doing something that I like to call inappropriate because well, it required Paul to show off that he wears two pairs of pants. Is that normal? Is that a normal thing for people? I don't know anyone that wears two pairs of pants.
No, I don't know. Well, it's hard to know. I don't know. I don't know Paul Williams particularly well socially, so he could be a two-pant guy. He does have very slender legs, so maybe he does wear a number of pairs of pant, just to build up the look of his legs. I don't really know, but it's a
And
mystery.
and one thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning, but we'll mention it now, is that people have been saying that they've broken the chain of having a guy on every series. So someone called Guy, because we had series one with Guy Williams and series two with Guy
Hmm.
Montgomery. But we've swapped a guy for a Paul because we've got Paul Williams, the
Yeah.
and Paul Ego, the let's say comedian, because it's just bonkers. I would say bonkers is the good word to use. And then we had Josh Thompson pretending he's in an action film, and then just breaking his way
Oh
through.
yes. What was
Yeah,
that one? Yeah.
he fell into a parachute. I would say fell into.
Oh yes.
Uh,
Yes, that's right. And then he kicked over the mannequin, kicked the
yeah,
mannequin in
and then he had
half.
a
Was that it? Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
and then he had a meltdown because he kicked over the mannequin. Which just sounds like him. So then we had Justine Smith. She did her own version of Shortland Street. Now,
Hmm.
because Shortland Street hasn't aired in the UK for quite a number of years, would you be
Yeah.
able to, in the briefest context, try and explain to the viewers what Shortland Street is, if you can do that, if that's possible?
Okay, so it's basically a soap opera. It's on 5 nights a week, and it's set in a hospital set in Auckland. So I guess it's like, what are those American ones, like Days of Our Lives or Young and the Restless? A couple of those I think are set in hospitals or something, aren't they? But it's been going for, God knows, 25 years, something like that. So it's a really good training ground for young Kiwi actors. They've all been through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's still going to this day, and it's still a really high rater. Yeah,
And we also have Cuda Forrester. There we go.
coulda,
We've got
coulda,
there.
yeah.
See, my brain forgot for a second.
Oh, it's all right. No, it's tricky. Well done.
Not in because it's more comical. So I find that I would spend all this time doing it correctly and then forgetting it. Coulda she thought it was all right. She was quite impressed with the because she's in Shortland Street
Mm.
herself, which is her other claim to fame, other than being
Yes.
in Taskmaster New Zealand. She did a Phantom of the Opera, but with a dramatic monologue with some smoke machine in the background. So she did.
Yeah, it was kind of like, it was almost like a hostage sort of speech. It had a little bit
Yeah,
of a Taken kind of vibe almost too, I thought.
and there was like ketchup and a little bit of blood and stuff
Mm.
there. But I reckon what she's not telling anyone is that she's had a phone call from Andrew Lloyd Webber and went, "Oh, I saw you doing the hostage Phantom of the Opera situation. Would you come and be the Phantom? We need a Phantom, but we need one that's got an edge of like mystery of have I been
That's right.
kidnapped? Have I not been kidnapped? Let's find out." I reckon that's happened backstage. I reckon she's not telling anyone because she wants
You
to keep
never know.
it surprised.
I think that is definitely how a lot of these big deals go down.
Yeah, they watch comedy
People just see something on New Zealand television and go, "Oh, I'll give them a call."
Yeah, and then we have you with the best way to describe it in a family friendly way was that you had come through the shed uh,
Mm.
that seems to be the home of most comical endeavours, and you've strapped
Yes.
horses to you and some champagne, and you've decided, I know I'll do the most dignified thing is just bouncing up and down with saucers attached to me and wearing a cricket helmet because if I fall off, I need some sort of damage.
Yeah.
What went through your why? What went through your head to that was a sensible thing to do?
Tom, you are asking the exact question I've asked myself many times since watching that episode. Yeah, I don't. Again, it was that thing of you got to make a dramatic exit, and so my first thought was, so I've got to exit from somewhere. Exit from what's the best? I'll go to the shed. I'll have a look in there. This would be a good place to exit from because I could kick the. But I'd been to the kitchen first, so I was like, okay, I'll go. I'll just have a look around, and I found the mustard and the sauce bottle. And I just ended up putting them there going, that looks pretty funny, right? Maybe I should stick them there. It didn't really have anything to do with anything else. So I took them down and I just sort of talked my way through it. Went, how about I just burst out of the shed and it'll be like a I had this vision of, it was kind of like a fireworks, just like somebody burst. It's like a fireworks display and things just kind of going off, like when you kick over a skyrocket in the middle of like a baby shower and people are just running around screaming. And so I thought, I'll come out, I'll get a bit of bounce on the trampoline, so we get that way that'll shake up the champagne, right? That'll shake it up, we'll get a good pop, and I'll just bounce, I'll shoot the champagne, it'll just be like this. Whoa, what an amazing guy. What an incredible guy that is.
And now's the best time to ask, because now that we've seen the lengths you go to, where did the idea of this costume? We're going to call it a costume. That
Sure.
might be a daily outfit. We we don't judge here at TGM Productions. That's just me. What went through your head when you went to choose this outfit, this costume, this amazingness that could make a whole generation fans of Crocs? What went through your head?
Well, it was literally the other show. Excuse me, the other show that I mentioned before, 7 Days. Whenever I'm on that, I tend to wear very bright shirts, really bright paisleys, bright colours, because all this up here, this face situation, is pretty dull. There's not much going on. It's just a lot of skill and it's just a big forehead and glasses. There's not much of interest there, to be honest. So I think why not distract people with an incredibly bright shirt that makes them go, "Geez, what has happened to his torso?"
Yeah.
So I've got a history of wearing bright shirts. So when Taskmaster came along, they just kind of went, "Do you want to? I assume you want to wear a bright shirt. Do you want to wear a bright shirt? But maybe it should be a different sort of shirt to what you wear on 7 Days." And we're shooting in the summer, so it was going to be really hot. So I said, "Well, look, you guys just choose a nice bright shirt." And they sent a picture of the red shirt, and then because I've owned Crocs over the years, and they are very comfortable. And I said to them, "Look, it might be quite funny if I have matching Crocs, like red Crocs, like I just look like a giant child." And they're like, "Yeah, cool. Okay, we'll see if we can get some." So that was it. It was, once again, as tends to be my way, it was a very quick decision. I didn't think about it very much.
These Crocs, did you wear? Because I don't think I don't think I looked properly. So I don't know why I would look properly. But did you wear socks with the Crocs or not?
No, just bare feet. And I got some pretty horrendous blisters, to be honest. Just mainly from the running tasks.
Yeah.
Whenever I would run around, the little button on the side, sort of on the side that holds the strap, the little metal button would just rub right into my ankle, and so I was constantly being plastered up.
Yeah.
Because I had these blisters on my ankle. It's not a very rock and roll injury story, to be honest. I guarantee Jason Statham got more injured than that in The Transporter, or bloody Tom Hardy whenever he was doing Mad Max or something like that. He probably didn't have. I don't think blisters would have. He probably would have mentioned them, to be honest.
Well, they say, as they've been saying since the 80s, comedy is a new rock and roll. It depends on the way you're performing them. But I've not seen anyone complain about not wearing socks, because that's the problem with the internet these days. If you had wore socks, there has probably been an outrage online, and if you hadn't worn socks, I think that was a good move, because then there was less angry people saying, "Oh, you shouldn't be wearing socks with those Crocs," which didn't really matter.
Yeah, all the Croc aficionados, the Croc purists say they'll be going, "Oh, what an insult! What an insult to some high-end rubber."
Yeah. And because Taskmaster New Zealand is so popular, that's the second most popular version after Taskmaster UK.
Wow, great.
And so it goes Taskmaster UK, Taskmaster NZ, then Sweden, then Norway, and then the others just slot in wherever. But they're the main ones.
Right, great.
We're obsessed with, for many reasons, but because of how popular New Zealand, I reckon you've started a new. I think the next time New York Fashion Week comes around, the trend will be Crocs and of all different colours, but the most popular ones might be the red Crocs.
Yeah, red Crocs, and then a couple of
and some Hawaiian
whack them on. Yeah, oh, you can't beat a Hawaiian shirt, honestly.
Unless you're in Hawaii, which and you can.
Well, I assume there they just call it a shirt. Yes.
Yeah. So we move on to the next task, and this is the task that normally on the official podcast that we rip off here. Normally the skim past, because it takes so long to read out, but I'm not Ed Gamble, I'm better than him. So it's transport the milk to the dock, chase the cow, and return to the milk to its starting plinth. One player must travel in a zorb, and that player must carry the cup of milk. The time will be added for any spill. The percentage of the milk that you spill will be percentage of your time added. I might need a breather after that.
It's honestly, some of them are just like, what? Sorry, can you read that to me 10 times and I still won't understand it?
So we so we've got the teams. So the team of three is Josh, Justine, and Cutter, and team one. Right. So we had in the UK series in series 11, which you can probably see if you're watching the video version. Let me try and you can see a photo of Mike Wozniak. We had Mike Wozniak and Lee Mack,
Hmm.
and they worked perfectly. And you said,
Great.
"Oh, nothing else could beat it." Well, we found a new one that's beating it. We've got Paul and we've got a Chris are the greatest team ever. And I want to know: have you been in talks to start a double act?
No, no, we haven't actually. Chris has done quite a few kind of double acts with. He works a lot with another Kiwi comic called Tom Sainsbury, who's very, very funny. Um, but no, I mean, who knows? Maybe we should at some point. We're a similar height too, so that he's a fairly tall, lean. Well, I'm not a lean guy, but I'm a tall guy. So no, we haven't talked about working together again, but it was a lot of fun, and that milk one was from memory the first time that I saw him come out of the house. So that was the first task that we
Yeah,
did
yeah,
together, straight off the bat. Yeah.
because they very rarely show off they normally the UK version, and I might be wrong. They normally cut out the bits where I go, "Oh my, it's you," and like being that sounds really threatening. That, but
Yeah.
being biting in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I reckon if you were to start a double act, your double act could be, and I think this sounds like really smooth. Chris Ego,
Oh, okay. Yes, yes, maybe.
uh, because
Maybe.
Parker and Ego don't really work together as a name, but Chris Ego or Paul Park.
Or Ego Parker.
Oh, that does work. Uh, that also
Maybe, yeah.
it also sounds like a comic character. Um, so we'll talk about yours first because you went first in when they showed
Yeah.
the video package, which is in video terms. This one is called. You went first. Now we're for video viewers. I'm gonna have to explain this because video viewers, audio viewers might not understand what's going on. So once we've finished talking about this task, there will be a clip from this task, like they do in the official podcast, but it might be more visually appreciated than audio. So if you're listening on
Hmm.
Apple Podcasts, just move over to Taskmaster World on YouTube so you just get the clip because what we're about to
Yeah.
explain needs to be seen. How bad was the fall when you fell over? How bad was it?
Oh, I had a bit of a bruise when I got home that night, but I fall over quite a bit. I'm quite an unco sort of guy,
Yeah.
and I got a fair bit of padding around these big bones, so I was actually all right. But yeah, it hurt, but we're on time pressure, If I hadn't had the Crocs, God, if I just had bare feet or socks and Crocs, I
Oh,
could have slid. I could have slid 500 meters, but thankfully I had that fantastic traction from my rubber flippers there, and so I got through it.
so would you call it more of a tumble than a fall then? If it didn't really.
And yeah, just my feet went out and foot, and then yeah, bang down on my hip. But I was I was I was too I was more concerned with letting go of the zorb that Chris was in because I thought if I fall over, it's just going to roll back, like not roll back over me like Indiana Jones like, and I'd be crushed to death because
Yeah.
it's made of polythene. I mean, it's got Chris inside it, but even so, I knew I'd be fine. But I just have visions of him going upside down. So I was really trying to hold on to the handle on the side of the Zorb, which I managed to do. But yeah, probably more sore than my hip
Yeah.
was just my arms from trying to push and pull the Zorb up the hill. Still, I had a much easier job than Chris, who was inside the Zorb at all
Yeah.
times.
I mean, have you ever been have you ever been in a Zorb yourself in a leisure type thing?
Yeah, my wife and I did one years ago. Yeah, yeah.
Well, years ago, I was on the one where you're on the water. Now, where me and you are sort of on a similar playing field is I'm not the most well off on my feet. I drop stuff a lot. Well, that's not my feet, but same thing. I fall over a little bit. I am what we call in the what we call in the in my house. Oh, he's fallen over again. Have you hurt yourself? No. Okay, I'll walk on then.
Yeah.
And so we're quite similar,
Yeah.
but I because I've been in a Zorb and I found it hilarious when you fall over. So it's a really hard, and on land it must be harder because I don't know if they've got them in New Zealand because even though I'm obsessed with New Zealand, which we'll get onto towards the end because I like telling New Zealand comedians how obsessed I am with their own country.
Oh, you can't really go wrong when you do that. You're like,
No,
oh,
no,
thank you for liking us.
yeah. Well, you'll really like it later. I've there's these football ones where you're in it to a certain extent.
Oh yes.
Yeah, but if that would have ruined the task if they did one of those, because then you would less likely watching a comedian fall over and tip milk everywhere. And
Yeah.
so so you seem to have just go straight. Whereas Josh and Justine and Cuddle, which we'll get on to now, Josh went, hang on, what we gonna do and planned it. What went through
Mm.
your mind when you were well, obviously you thought I need to read that again, but what went through your mind when you first saw the task?
Well, I think because Chris has got such a frenetic, wonderful, fun-filled energy, that combined with me not really thinking things through and reading things just meant that we did everything very fast. So the first thing we did was you take that, I'll take this, right. Let's put something on the top so it doesn't spill. Yeah, let's do that. It was just like a couple of Muppets running around, really. So yeah, we sealed the bucket. I think was it a bucket? I think it was a bucket. Yeah, we put a plate. We put a plastic plate over the top of the bucket. Lots of gaffer tape, and it was pretty good. There wasn't much coming out of there. And then got Chris inside, and I carried that, and he carried the cup, and we put a top on the cup. So I don't think we actually spilt all that much,
Yeah,
although our time might have been quite slow.
yeah,
So really, yeah.
yeah,
The only thing I was really concerned about is
yeah.
once Chris started running and he was inside, and so we're going down the slope. Well, we're going down on the flat, and then it's quite a slope. And I thought, I'm not the strongest guy or the quickest guy. And I thought, if I don't hang on tight, he's literally going to go straight into the lake. So I was literally just trying to hold on for dear life and hoping that I didn't let go of him, which, apart from me falling on my ass, I didn't.
Yeah, and so with so the did you have to sign anything before you actually did the task to say that if anything goes wrong, you're liable?
I don't remember. I actually don't remember. We probably did.
Yeah, because what
I don't know.
what I've noticed is when they do in Edinburgh, they do comedy wrestling,
Hmm.
which is comedians that are not well trained in wrestling and start attacking each other just to get an award. And it's chaos, and they have to sign something beforehand to say if they hurt themselves because there's always one pro wrestler in the ring. There's always one, so they've got this one.
Oh, okay.
She's the one pro. Everyone else is like an amateur and never done it before, are just hopping on each other and attacking them, and they have to sign something beforehand to say that it's their fault. So in the last one they did, we had Rose Matafeo as the one that was advocating them to get hurt because that was her role in the night. But so there's not anything you have to sign because I've got a feeling that you have to make sure that there's like legally safe if anything goes wrong, so you can't like sue. You can't sue.
Yeah, I'm sure that we did, and I've just forgotten about it. I mean, there was a health and safety person there the entire time
Yeah,
who was always coming up and checking on you and making sure you're okay. And I mean, even when I did the Masked Singer recently, they're really great there too because you're inside these big suits and they're incredibly hot and you can't see where you're going. So they're constantly coming up to you going, "Are you okay? Is there anything you need? What do you need to do? How are you feeling?" It was really good. So no, we were covered on that front, that's for
oh
sure.
god,
But Taskmaster is that sort of show, right, where you don't want to kind of go into it and go, well, look, I'm just gonna be really careful with every task. I just wanted to go in and just give it 100% and do things that I would not have done before
yeah,
in any sort of show.
yeah,
And with a guy in his 50s, there's always a risk I'm going to hurt myself. Thankfully, with the exception of a couple of blisters and a couple of bruises, I was all right. So yeah.
and with series two, when I interviewed Ursula Carlson, she had said that they had health and safety there just in case David did something stupid, but it was Ursula that had the incident
Yeah.
So I assume that the health and safety was like ramped up a little bit because they've got experience of things going dramatically wrong.
Yes, it was. Yeah, the woman who was doing it was certainly very attentive, and even with things like just me just having a blister on my foot, it was like, okay, let me have a look. No, I need to have a look, or you'd whack your finger on something, or you'd scratch yourself. She'd go, oh, let me have a look. I'll go and get some stuff, and you'd be like, I'm honestly fine. No, I'll just let me get some stuff. So.
And so we're going to just jump forward to I can't remember which episode it is, but we're going to jump forward because I've got the opportunity to ask you the greatest thing ever. So the task where you're in the golf buggy and you had to keep doing the different was, I think that's going to be the greatest thing ever because it worked so well as a group of three, and it was like smooth, and you think, it's really nice. But then when it's you two, it's chaos, and you had to miss it, reverse back and forth. What was that in the top 10 best tasks you did with Chris, or is there?
Oh yeah, that was the last one we did on the that was the last one we did on the day, I think, on that particular day, and I think it was Chris's last task of the series. I think he was flying off to Melbourne the next day to do a comedy festival over there or something. So it was quite a fun way to end it, and it was really great. But it was very hard with two people. I mean, I don't listen particularly well at the best of times, so with one less set of ears, it made me feel very sorry for all the years that my wife has been in the car with me. I assume I'm just kind of like that, going, no, I know where I'm doing. No, the map said that I should reverse into that caravan. I'm sure that's what it said. So there was lots of turning around and going back, and turning around and going back. But it was a hell of a laugh. It really was.
Yeah, and I think if anyone out there has not seen that, I reckon there's going to be someone, and it won't be me. It'll be someone else because I've got far too many things to be doing with my days. Someone else will probably upload that to YouTube because that is like, it's just your bit, because their bit's like really smooth and calm, but yours is like, just how many things can go wrong within a short space of time, and it's so many. It's just brilliant. So back to this task, the second team, which are the three, they had more of a problem because they had more milk spillage because they had the wheelbarrow and there was a lot more milk being spilled. And that's what I hated about this task. This task worked better as a 2 rather than a 3, because then they had to add on something that made it a lot harder. So you tried than them 3 did.
Yeah, that's probably true. It was, well, as we know, in any situation in life, 3 people can be an awkward number. And three's an awkward number. So yes, I think we did have the advantage of 2. Made it simpler sometimes. We had a bigger workload in some of the tasks, but it was simpler with just one other person.
Yeah.
Feel invincible. Where is it?
It's right here to our left.
Oh, brilliant.
Okay, ready?
G'day, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, brother.
Oh, good on you, buddy.
Both milks have been cheersed.
Now we're going to go back up.
It's beauty.
You okay?
Oh, my God. I'm all right. I'm all right.
Sway, eh?
Yeah, you're going great. You just carry on. Look at you go, little fella.
Yeah, and so we'll move on to task number 3.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've got to the stage where we can now work out who do you reckon, because normally in every series there's always someone that has the same sort of energy as the previous contestant. Who do you reckon was the David Correos of this series?
Well, Josh would be my first answer, just because of the kind of, go, what are we going to do? That sort of thing. But I think Chris has a bit of that Correos kind of vibe as well. It's probably Correos is probably a combination of both of those 2 guys, I think, really. David's, I mean, he's an incredible performer. But he's got all the Josh energy, I think, I mean, I didn't watch a lot of last season.
Yeah.
But he's got all that crazy Josh energy without necessarily having the brilliant planning mind, and that's no criticism of him. But that's Off the top of my head, that's the sort of vibe that I get when I watch him.
And David did appear in a future episode, and it took you really a long time to realise that he was
I know.
camouflaged to the wall. Which
Very lumpy wallpaper.
Yeah,
I'm just really used to that.
it took me a few seconds to realise that was David, because when they first panned to him, because his face was painted as well, you could, and I just lost track of some of the details. It was him, so it took me like I don't know, 2 seconds. And it took some people 4 minutes, and some people a lot longer. But we move on to task number 3, a task that I would have struggled with because I'm not very good at maths, and I'm not very good at reading numbers. Is another problem. It's recite pi to the most decimal place. You said,
yes.
I wrote this down because I always write down the odd quote just to point out how silly. And to be fair, I would have done this as well. You said recipe pi instead of recite pi. You said recipe pi. So, there was a slight indication that not all was going to plan out how it was.
Yeah.
So you had went on to eat some of the pie. Was it a nice pie, or was it a false television pie?
No, it was a real pie. It was an apple pie, and it was delicious. And I ate the entire thing. It was quite a hot day, and it was a nice cold pie, so it was quite refreshing actually. But it was certainly more afternoon tea than I needed, and certainly did not help with my calorie intake for the day.
and with the caravan, because Britain, we're not very well equipped in a very hot day, and if you've seen what happened this year with 40 degrees, we were not very much well pleasant with it, and we were all panicking, and things were stopping left, right, centre because we're not used to it. How hot does the caravan get when it's really, really hot? Is it like so hot you need to just run out of there as quick as possible?
Oh no, it's not that bad. It's it's stuffy, but it wasn't searingly hot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty small caravan, and I'm a big guy, so it's more a feeling of claustrophobia, really. And then you've got Paul Williams sitting across from you, who was such an odd creature in that little mini Colonel Sanders suit. It's just a strange situation.
I mean, it's Taskmaster itself. You don't know what you're going to expect to get into. So, where are you? Maths? Are you good at maths, or would you say you're competent at maths?
Oh, I'd say competent. I'm pretty quick at doing sums in my head. I still try and do them as much as I can, rather than just kind of use the calculator on my phone, just to keep my mind pretty active. So I wasn't amazing at maths in school, but yeah, I could probably do a basic bit of long division or multiplication in my head if I had to at a push.
So reciting pi, was that never going to be your strong suit?
No, definitely not. No, I probably learnt it in school. I tell you who is amazing at it is Melanie Bracewell. She's a New Zealand comic who's based a lot in Australia at the moment. And she did it on our 7 Days TV show once. I don't know how it came up. But she, like the full long, the entire, 28 bloody numbers or something, just knew it off the top of her head. Went, oh yeah, it's this, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It was pretty impressive.
Well, what's surprising me is I've never known pi because of the. We won't get into it because it'll take all day to get into it. But because of if people that know me will know where I stand on maths. Me and maths are not like chalk and cheese. We're like a cat and a mouse, where a mouse runs away from the cat, and vice versa. Me and maths don't mix well. So I've never been taught pi because they've never thought, oh, we'll need that, or it really.
Yeah.
So
that'll be good. Yeah.
This was a territory that I was sort of apprehensive to try and work out the best way to, one, write notes on it, and two, work out whether or not anyone's competent at it. Because by the end of it, you sounded like you were reciting a phone number. By the end of it,
yeah, I think I got about maybe 6 numbers right. Actually, knowing pi would have been a real help with that task. Yeah. But I mean, it was literally just looking at, numbers on a piece of paper and just trying to remember them. just reciting them over and trying to remember them. And even that I find very difficult. I'll write something down, and then I look up and I go, "Oh, I wrote something down." I have to look at it again. What was it? Oh, look. It's immediately gone. It's immediately gone. So I found it quite tricky.
Yeah, I'll pull a reference there. I'll make a reference in Doctor Who. There's a villain, an alien called the Silence. Where you look away, you've forgotten who they are, and you can see them. So it might be that type of situation. You might have some alien might be controlling you to forget what you.
Maybe that's or like a weeping angel who only knows pie. And every time you think you've got it, you turn around and you look at them, and then it's gone again. And you go, God, these goddamn weeping angels.
And so Josh got really angry because he wanted to eat that pie. There was no rule that said you couldn't eat it, so he could have ate it whilst memorising it, because you went for it, and I like pie.
Yeah.
It was very good, because I was watching because I didn't realise apple pie was rather popular elsewhere, because I was watching Bake Off Australia, and one of the people on it seemed British, must have been British, even though his accent sounded Australian, and he said he was from Britain, but I didn't believe him. Said that he's nostalgia, because it was Nostalgia Week. It was an apple pie, and then I see it on Taskmaster New Zealand. I'm thinking, but I thought apple pie was only a British thing. But is it apple pie as popular as it seems in Britain?
Oh yeah, I think worldwide it's pretty popular, right? In the US, pies are huge, and apple pie is a big thing. It's I remember my mum making not necessarily apple pies, but maybe sort of like apple sort of like crumble. Crumbles are very popular here.
Yeah, crumble very popular.
Yeah, like not just for dessert, like just as a main meal. Like beef crumble.
Curry crumble.
It's right. It's sausage crumble, chicken crumble, all sorts of crumble. It's just for people who just don't put enough liquid in their recipes, and you can say, "Well, it's meant to fall apart. It's a crumble. Don't be so rude."
Yeah.
Apple pie is pretty popular. Yeah.
There's a program in the program worldwide called Friday Night Dinner, and they have a whole catchphrase called "Crumble Crumble," which is crumble, but just said in a weird way. It makes no sense. So overall, you had the most interesting. But whereas when people worry about the dignity being lost through Taskmaster itself, the franchise, Chris Parker lost his dignity that day by getting it wrong on the first hurdle, not even knowing that it begins with a 3. And getting it wrong and going, oh, you failed, and then having to go in the studio and still, even after watching it on the screen, he's been staring at the screen going,
yeah.
3. And he turns around and goes, 4? No, it sounds. I think you got looking at it that other people had more of a problem than you. So I was very much impressed that you would outweighed. See, that's why you and Chris work really well together in a team, because if you watch Chris do his solo tasks and you watch you, there's not much difference. There's a little bit of difference, but not much difference than you think. And so
you're right.
And so we move on now to the final live task before we move on to the final few questions that we wind down to end off this wonderful interview. Now, the live task was memorize the names of the fish of the poster in the shed.
Oh God!
A very popular thing in Britain, because since Rose Massive Hill mentioned the fish poster, it's been a New Zealand Taskmaster statement that we reference that it's a joke in Britain that everywhere you look there's a fish poster, and every time to someone, I have the most important question to ask. What happened when you failed the thing, when you went walking to the shed? You had you stood there, then they cut to Paul, and next thing you know it, you'd vanished. Everyone else they had filmed walking into the shed, but you had just vanished, and then appeared in. They never explained that you were in the shed. Was that magic, or was that the magic of editing?
I think it was a magic of editing. I mean, probably because it probably takes me quite long to walk into the shed because I'm quite tall, and I was probably worried about hitting my head. So it was probably just they probably just saw that and went, "That's really boring television." Watching Paul attempting to get inside a small shed. Let's just assume he got in and just start filming once he's in there.
Well, is that shed the shed from the house slash ranch? Is that the exact shed?
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's similar. It's a newer, smaller version, I suppose. But yeah, it's of a similar vein, but no, different shed.
So, do you reckon you're very good at with memorizing fish? Do you reckon you're a fish expert?
No, definitely not. And that was a kind of version. I was just waving to my son. He's just come home for the night. G'day, mate. That was very similar to the Remember Pie thing, really, where you just kind of stare at it and go, "I've got it," and then you look up and it's instantly gone. With the fish poster, I just found myself just looking at the same fish just over and over, rather than kind of going, "Okay, I should have just gone columns and go, right, I'll just do the left column and I'll nail 8 fish and just remember them out of rote, like you're remembering numbers. Da, 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 da. Okay, we'll go snapper, kinner, teriki, blue cod, da, da, snapper, kinner. So at least I had 4. I just kept going, snapper. Yep. Oh yeah, and there's a snapper. There's stop saying snapper. And then I just couldn't, I think I remembered about 4 in the end, so I did better than I thought I would.
You did very well, and that the live tests are always the hardest ones, and it is very hard to. My memory is good for certain things, but not for others. So I wouldn't be able to do that because I had to write some notes down the other day, and I wrote down the names of fish, but because I couldn't spell the name of the fish, it was very hard to Google the name of the fish to try and work out what the fish was, and then when you Google it, I'm thinking that doesn't look like a fish. That's like someone's been drawing a fish. And
do you do that thing? I do this thing too when I'm trying to write down. Say if I'm on a phone call with somebody, I've got a meeting about a gig or something or other. Sometimes I look at the notes that I've written down afterwards, and I haven't actually written down anything about the gig. I've actually written down write notes. Yeah. I've actually written the word "write notes" down on paper. It's just so bizarre that I've got that in my head, so I'll write that down. I don't even realise I'm doing it. It's so weird.
Well, I sometimes miswrite the notes. If there's a time, I write the wrong time now by accident because I'm trying to listen to it and then write it down after and then forget it. So
all right, yeah.
I've got more of you have to be somewhere at like 7 a.m. I would write 7:45 and thinking, what? And then you get there and you're like 45 minutes later. Like, oh no.
To the shed, please. Josh, Morky.
What did that mean?
Yeah, and so we move on to the winner. And I hope you enjoyed that clip there. We've had that explained and it wasn't anything. It wasn't magic, but that clip did show that it was magic because it's a kind of magic. That's the Queen reference.
That's how magic works. That's how clip magic works.
Yeah. So the episode winner was the one and only Josh Thompson. Let's give a round of applause, even though it's been
done. Well done.
There we go. So he deserves to win that, and it was disgusting watching him shove the sushi into his mouth.
It really was. With my butter chicken and strawberries as well. We're like, don't eat that, Josh. Please don't eat that. It's been unrefrigerated for quite a long time.
Yeah, and so we move down to the final few questions, some format points, and wrapping up. So
great.
So the final few questions was, did you enjoy your time on Taskmaster?
I absolutely loved it. It was unlike anything I've done before. And I mean, it's only the 3rd season, so I've only been going 3 years, but I would possibly have been asked to be on it in a previous season, but the other show that I'd been on, the 7 Days TV show, is on a opposing TV network in New Zealand. Yeah. So because I was one of the regular people on that show, I couldn't do anything else on the other network, which is what Taskmaster's on. So because I was sort of was on this other show 7 days a bit less, and I had a bit more freedom to do other stuff I wanted to do. It meant I could do other stuff like Taskmaster, which has been great actually this year. So yeah, I really loved it, and it was just incredible. It was everybody I know, all the comics I know who had been on the first 2 seasons, and I would see them quite often. They were like, it'll be the best thing that you've ever done. They've all said it's the best thing I've ever done. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Wow.
And no, it really was. It was, and I mean, we're already great friends anyway. But the friendships you make with the crew and the dynamic and stuff. I mean, it's exhausting. It's emotionally and mentally. Yeah, let's say that's a word. It's mentally exhausting. But yeah, so rewarding. I really loved it.
And if you got to be asked back on to be a cameo like Andrew Dravid in Series 2 and David in Series 3, would you snap up the chance to appear in it as a cameo?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to be like a version of David, but instead of the wallpaper, I wish that they'd like staple me to the ceiling. some sort of like big fleshy chandelier, or like a big pinata that could fall on you at any moment, like 115 kilos of 50-year-old flesh just falling down on your head, and you have to walk under it, and whoever stands under it the longest without pissing themselves is the winner.
Yeah, or they could try and find the previous contestant, and they've got clues to you. So you've got like the head you wore on the Masked Singer, and you've got like a green Hawaiian shirt just to throw them off. I think that would work.
That's really good. Or like get each of the previous contestants to submit a stool sample, and they choose one, and you have to guess which contestant did it.
and so to wind down this interview, to do my obligatory, I'm obsessed with news. It turns out that every time I've had a New Zealand person on, I mentioned out. So I told Paul Williams how much I like New Zealand. I told
great.
I told Tom Furnace.
Furnace.
Yeah, Furnace. That's it. See,
Yeah.
I told him, and so I'm obsessed with New Zealand to a point where, and I'm not going to do it now because I'll probably make a fool of myself, but I can sort of recite the first bit of the national anthem, sort of. I'm not 100% there. I can get in there because I found when I saw it I've got it on YouTube on a play, and I've got it on when I'm at college, I've got it on my Google Drive where it just plays, and every time I have to do a screen record of something and add music underneath, I just shove the New Zealand national anthem. I was on radio. I used to do my college radio, which I'm going back to doing, and I had the New Zealand telethon song playing and the New Zealand national anthem.
The telethon's great.
And I've seen Patriot Brains, which is fantastic. I've watched it. I've seen most New Zealand programming now. And I've never been to New Zealand. That's the one problem in all of this. I've never been.
Well, now that you've watched all our TV, you sort of don't need to be honest, Tom. You've covered most things off. Maybe just order a bag of fern leaf or something, or a couple of dolphins. Just get a little bit of New Zealand in there, some powdered kiwi or something.
Yeah, and so hopefully one day I'll be able to go to New Zealand, and I feel like I know so many people now from New Zealand. My repertoire of people I've interviewed a lot of them are basically high up there. Like Paul Williams is the highest I've got so far in the Taskmaster pecking order. I just need to
that's pretty good.
I need to tackle down Jeremy Wells because I interviewed Babben Larsson, who's a Swedish Taskmaster last year.
Mm-hmm.
She's really nice, so I need to now try and hunt down Jeremy Wells and make sure that he's not busy doing radio and then night news all at the same time.
Yes, he's a busy man. He might be a tricky one to hunt down, but failing that, go to Sweden. Yeah. Beautiful country, beautiful place.
So to now go on to our formula questions. What rate your experience on the Taskmaster podcast from 1 to 5? So as it's the same format as you do on the show, 1 to 5, but it's just rate your experience on the Taskmaster World, the podcast.
Okay, 3.146792456. Is that it? Was that it? Is that pi?
I'll Google it. I'll Google it because
3.14 is right, isn't it? Or is it 3.41?
I've typed in pi. Pi is 3.14159265359.
What are the chances that I got it 100% right? I don't think. Thank you, mate. I don't think we even need to take this back to watch. I'm pretty sure that was accurate. I
Yeah.
definitely said 3, which Chris Parker did not.
Yeah.
So
You've already beaten
already
it
winning.
that way.
Already winning.
So,
No, look, the rating is higher than that. It's higher than that. Add all those numbers together, and whatever they add up to, that's the score.
yeah, so there we have it. Another wonderful episode. Now, you're probably wondering, Tom, when's the next episode? Well, if you use your eyes and keep them peeled, you might see something special. Ooh, something special. See, every episode is special, but I've never, not in a very long time, ever had one episode and a very special another episode. So this year, I'm probably hopefully going to beat my record of interviews. Last year was 23, so hopefully I'm going to beat the record this year. I'm almost there. So yeah. So thank you guys for watching, and if Chris Parker's watching, I would love to interview you. You might want to check on your online presence if you've seen anything from me, because I did send you a message, so pay attention. But you are the most busiest contestant so far, other than Jeremy Wells. Let's not put him down, unless he needs to. But thank you for coming on to the podcast, and thank you guys for watching. And remember, as you say on Strictly, keep tasking. Bye!
Hello everyone, please subscribe to Taskmaster World.